Hi, this is Bonnie Morris. I'm going to be reading today from my book, Sappho's Overhead Projector, published in November 2018 by Bywater Books. I'm very proud to be participating in this Way Out's queer global read-in. It's an honor and a privilege. This is a lesbian mystery set in a haunted lesbian bar. And in this chapter, chapter 3, on Halloween night, the women of the bar are talking about which books helped them to come out, which were the first lesbian books they ever saw as teenagers, young adults in their coming out years. Who helped them find these books? Why are these books so valuable? All right. Well, began Hannah, already a little woozy from the effect of the special Halloween potion, I guess I've been hoping to ask all of you this question. What was the first book any of you took out of a library? And, did a librarian help you, or were you treated badly for trying to find lesbian books? Treat me badly? Hell no. I was in love with my school librarian, said Trail, jiggling her long legs. Miss Diane. I took out every book they had just to see her over and over and over. She'd say, "Why, it's you, my little bookworm." And I was just crazy with love. Later on, I figured, she was well over 30 and not married. She probably spotted a kindred spirit there in me. But who knows? She was nice, Trail sighed. I know what you're getting at, said Hannah. Trying to find a book that'll change you or that tells you something about yourself, those are hard to ask for. You automatically have a connection with that librarian. Tongues loosened. More women arrived and were offered the Halloween special. Harriet the Spy, said one group of women. Best Baby Dyke book ever. Best one. Well, what about books that just made it okay to be sort of eccentric, sort of independent, or just a girl getting into trouble? Girl books like Pippi Longstocking, Amelia Bedelia, Madeline. Well, I don't know, said Yvette. Here's the thing. By the time you're 12 or 14, you get the vague idea that some characters are kind of gay, and maybe the authors are kind of gay, because they keep introducing these tomboy chicks. Nancy Drew had her pal George. Then there was Peppermint Patty and her sidekick Marcy in all those Peanuts collections. But what started the stereotype that librarians are gay? Not all of them are. Just all the ones I've ever met, said Trail. Letty slammed down her glass, sending beer foam onto Hannah's eyelashes. My sister and I were on this just the other night. She said the one career that shouts out queer, whether you're a man or a woman, is librarian. Now, why is that? Instant responses came from all over the bar, at the pool table, and from someone apparently already lying down under the pool table. Because you like books better than sports if you're a dude. Because you like books better than guys if you're a girl. Because real men play football after school. They don't go home and read Jane Eyre. And, Trail added quietly, if you're a woman, it is the idea that you prefer a book as your mate. You'd rather take a book to a restaurant than a man. You're an educated woman. You don't need a husband. In fact, what man would have you? You who smell like library paste. No, you smell like books, which is a totally different vibe, Dog argued. You, Hannah, you have that great ink and leather huff going on. She leaned over and sniffed Hannah's neck. Like this, like you, and she swooned. Watch it, said Isabel, sweeping Dog's tips off the bar with a capable arm. Then the door banged open, and all eyes turned as Theodora walked in, her athletic spectacularness only mildly compromised by the bag of ice plastic wrapped around one lean thigh. She had come direct from the game. Hannah wants to know, who was your favorite librarian as a kid, and did some librarian mess you up? Yelled Letty, now standing in line for the bathroom. Dora, did you have jock books as a girl? Hannah asked. Babe Didrikson, girl athlete, recited the community's beloved referee. That subtitle made it seem like she was an exotic plant or some kind of disease. A living peculiarity like girl lamppost, and it was illustrated in sickly industrial green, a color not found in nature. I gave up and I read horse books. Isabel was taking a quick break from serving, allowing Moira to run the cash register. She said anyone who grew up in our time was unlikely to get a children's book with a lesbian character or a gay family, we invented what we needed. Most of us found our first gay book when we were in junior high, maybe high school, and that was usually a book meant for adults. We couldn't get Heather Has Two Mommies or Annie on My Mind. Well, you could through mail order, said Shoney. At my boarding school, we all pooled our money and we paid off one white girl to get Even Cowgirls Get the Blues. That at least had one part native character and a great lesbian sex scene. We passed that around in the dorm. Everyone who had ever owned a smuggled copy of Cowgirls in their coming out years now sighed and began reciting long passages. Quote, teeth of foam, lips of pie, long, thick tongues painted each other with tongue stuff. You know, Hannah mused, I really learned to be a lesbian from books. I didn't know anyone like me, or so I thought. I didn't have a clue what women did, or how it might work, or what it might feel like. Weren't you ever on a softball team? Theodore inquired sympathetically. And some books just plain aroused me, Hannah continued, ignoring Dora's usual dig at her lack of athletic pedigree. I mean, come on, Colette, Anais Nin. All that soft porn, white Europeans, Yvette snorted. Show me where in those books there's any real fucking going on. Oh, but if you're just awakening and not ready for it, Colette made my head spin, and then my other parts. I listened for a long time to what her mouth told mine. Boy, that was enough to start. That worked for me, Hannah argued. See, I wanted to be a writer and have a female lover, and those intra-war European women, they showed me a world where women chose both, even before my time. We had to make do with peeking at medical textbooks, said Letty, puffing as she came off the dance floor to rejoin the conversation. Well, Jane Rule did it for me. That look into lesbian identity without too much explicit sex description, Dora agreed. Those were books you didn't have to worry about leaving around if you had your parents snoop or friends or babysitters. They would have to flip through so many pages before they could find an actual censor-worthy passage. Yet there are such great, great lines there. Just when you think you're going to learn about what lesbians do in private, the next page is all about conflict and morality and anguished relationship drama. That is what lesbians do, Moira put in. So they all began quoting from Jane Rule. Talk to desire, make it come to you, so that breasts do not forget what thighs open for now. Her mouth came down hard on mine, as if to answer. And after that night, which had no sequel, laughter and toasts followed every quote, every memory. Well, I don't know, said Letty. I was more in sync with that Jill Johnston, who wrote Lesbian Nation, that came out in Greenwich Village in the 50s. There was no lesbian identity. There was lesbian activity. All those lesbian publishers and presses, that came out after I paid my dues. Y'all were real lucky, and she poked Hannah with her beer. We loved anything that made us real, Trail added, getting up again to dance. We always do. The question is whether what we love loves us back, whether those books feel the heat that come off our own sweaty palms, that heat of first discovery, then homecoming, then genre. Hannah picked up her pen to write that down, and Isabel knocked it out of her hand and ordered her to dance. Hannah thought about those conversations as she and Isabel swept the bar and readied it for Halloween treats. There was so much love for the books that had, in whatever large or limited way, helped them find lesbian identity, validation. Too many women had to make do with banned lesbian books or scary medical encyclopedia entries on homosexuality. And then along came Hannah's students, who could download everything ever written about gay and lesbian books at the touch of a computer button. Their own treasure hunts for books and images about kids like them, supported by search engines, databases, social media, gay and lesbian archives, support groups. Hannah felt most at home with those late baby boomers who came out in the heady days of the lesbian cultural moment, when women's bookstores filled the aching gap. They provided delight, discovery, shelves stacked with both classic and recent lesbian volumes. Those books called out, "This is where we are. Hey there, kid. We were waiting for you." What are happening to all those books? Did those anxiously thumbed, hungrily read, sometimes even stolen, life-changing books themselves know they were loved? Could cloth and paper feel the urgent, sweaty palms of young teenage bookworms? Was there an accumulated deposit of need and angst and relief built up between the lines from every baby dyke who ever checked out or pawed through that one copy of Rita Mae Brown in the mid-sized town library? What if those books could speak of what they had seen and who had touched them? Aha! Hannah grinned, setting decks of tarot cards out on the bar. There's a good title. If these books could talk. And she saw herself at 14, hovering in front of the 301 section of the Little Falls Library, confused and embarrassed because her family's phone number, area code, was also 301. She had felt marked. The lesbian feminist books that two local librarians had stocked enthusiastically in those late 70s years seemed to snicker at her. Oh, we know where you live, kid. Yeah, 301. That's your neighborhood, right? That's your number, right? That's your shelf, right? We got your number, all right. Why don't you start reading us now? You'll be writing us later. She closed her eyes, remembering, like a witch's brew, every book she'd ever read, every book she'd ever loved. They sat on her shoulders now, every time she picked up a pen to write. The book is Sappho's Overhead Projector. The publisher is Bywater. Your author is me, Dr. Bonnie Morris, coming to you from Santa Cruz, California. Love, stay well, and happy Pride. And thank you, Brian DeShazer.